You and I had landed in New Mexico for a fuel stop. I look down at my phone. I see I've got 8 or 9 like missed phone calls from Erin, and so I know something's wrong. I call her back, and she tells me our daughter Brooke has had a seizure. I've never felt more helpless in my life. Your brain kind of goes into panic mode, and the last thing I care about at this point is flying a plane. I feel so far away from my daughter, but my first thought, like, she called and said, "Oh, Brooke's had a seizure," and I was like, "Oh, I can't be a pilot. Like, I can't do this professionally."
All right, hey guys, I'm here. This is flight number 4 on the race to 1500, and you notice I'm not in my Comanche. I am in Kick-Ass Barren, and we are over the middle of, we're in El Paso?
Okay, well, we're in New Mexico.
We're in New Mexico, sorry. And I'm here with Derek, and Kim is back there. And we are flying from Dallas to California today because there's a pizza place that Derek wants me to try, and it seemed like a good reason to travel about, 1,200 miles?
About that, yeah.
2,400 round trips, that's what we're doing today.
All right, so this video has us flying to California. I'm going to chop it up a little bit differently, and I'm not going to show all the takeoffs and landings and stuff that I've, you've seen it a million times, and this video is already going to be long. The emphasis of this video is going to be flying as a crew. When I fly with Derek, we're not just 2 guys going to grab a hamburger, even though that's what we're really doing. He assigns roles, and we fly as a crew. So there's a couple different phases of flight in which we have call-outs and responses that we have to do, and certain tasks that he assigns to me. So that's what I want to focus on this video.
So in this race to 1500, I'm calling this series, one of the things that I've been doing that's been very eye-opening, and I wouldn't have known had Derek not taken me flying with him. Derek's an MEI, he's got a multi-engineer plane, and so initially he offered to help me get some of my multi-hours, which is great. The bigger picture, the bigger takeaway is Derek's a captain at an airline, and from day one he said, we're going to fly like a crew, and that's something I'd never heard about. No one ever talked to me about it, didn't know anything about flying as a crew. But when we fly this plane together, we have roles. And I'm sure the things we're talking about and the exchanges we're doing are similar to what you guys do at Envoy. You have I always call it Captain First Officer, but you refer to it as the flying pilot and a non-flying pilot.
Yeah, and just as kind of a lead into that, you're not incorrect in that there are times when the roles are specifically designated Captain and First Officer.
Okay.
When you're on the ground, your roles are pretty much always designated Captain, First Officer.
Okay.
Because the captain at that point is always the, I won't say flying pilot, we'll just call it driving pilot.
Okay.
The captain is the one steering the airplane.
Okay.
So for the most part, what the captain is doing is he is directing things, and he is eyes out the window and eyes on the taxi chart to make sure that he's going in the right way. The First Officer is the one who is talking to ground, talking to ramp control, making sure that, our gate is open, we have a place to go, we know where we're going to park, and backing the captain up on the route, because we do fly into a lot of airports that are not familiar.
Okay.
Or, that raise your stress level a little bit. I'm not going to lie and say that Chicago doesn't get my stress level up a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't fly in and out of Chicago every day. There are guys who go in and out of Chicago every day, and they can do it with their eyes closed. And then they come down to DFW, and they're like, I don't know who to talk to. Okay. Well, I'm supposed to call first. So it does get a little bit complicated. So you do have very specific designated roles on the ground.
Okay.
And once you get up in the air, yes, it becomes flying pilot, non-flying pilot.
Okay.
When I'm flying with Derek, it's a little bit different than how I've flown traditionally when I get in the plane with pilots, or how I've really flown for the last 10 or 12 years. I use checklists and I take flying seriously, but I never fly in what I would really call a professional manner. In the video, I misspeak a little bit. I call it pilot flying and non-flying pilot or something like that. It's pilot flying and pilot monitoring. But when I get in the plane with Derek, even though it's a GA plane and we may just be grabbing a hamburger or flying all the way to California, what have you, he assigns roles, right? And sometimes I'm the captain, sometimes I'm the FO, and we have specific call-outs that we do during different phases of flight.
All right, so what I'm going to do out of here is we're going to do a standard run. I'll say set power or check power. I want you to just check the gauges, make sure everything's green.
Okay.
90 knots will rotate. Any problems prior to that, we're going to reject straight ahead on the runway, and we'll just stop. Once we get up in the air, you're going to call positive rate. I'm going to say gear up. You're going to put the gear up. As soon as we do that, from that point on, it's a flying airplane. If we lose an engine, I'm going to lower the nose, accelerate above blue line, bring it back in here. We can make left traffic back to this runway. All right, check power.
All right, power set.
Thank you.
Ninety knots.
There we go.
All right,
Wow,
positive rate.
gear up.
All right, gear's coming up. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, did you feel the thing jump up in the air?
Yes, yes.
Wow. All right, tweak that to 25 squared
25
for me if
squared.
you would.
All right, cruise checklist, power.
All right, it is set for now. We'll tweak it in just a couple of seconds.
All right, fuel flow.
I've got the initial leaning again. We'll lean it out.
Okay, cow flaps.
They are closed.
All right, cruise checklist complete.
All right, so I'm going to switch over to the aux tanks here at 9 minutes.
All right, given that I'm in the plane with a captain at an airline, I had to ask him like the most important question of all time.
All right, I got to know, how often do people clap when you land a plane? I've never been on a plane where that's happened, but I've heard people talk about it.
I have had people clap.
That's what I would say too, even if I had.
Yeah, and a lot of times it isn't even because you made a great landing or anything like that. They're just happy to be there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't have the footage from California. And I know if you've been watching the series, it just seems like Brian's always losing SD cards. I had one really nice camera that I walk around with and film with, and I've used it for a lot of these flights. There was a card in it that got corrupt, and so I lost chunks of a lot of the flights I've done. So anyway, I don't have the footage of California. It's too bad. We went to the beach, which was awesome. The temperature out there is amazing, as you probably know. And then while we were out on the beach, some guy came up to me and goes, "Hey, aren't you that guy from the internet?" And I was like, "Yeah, my name's Brian." He goes, "I'm Andrew." I said, "Hey, I'll put you in the next video." So sorry, that's the card. Everything on foot, everything that was beautiful, the sunset, the beach, all the kind of stuff we got to see while we were there. And even the pizza place. The pizza was phenomenal. If you ever find yourself in California, it's called Flippy's Pizza. It's really, really good. I told my wife, I was like, we need to figure out how to vacation there sometime so we can go out there and have pizza there. So anyway, I don't have the on-the-ground footage at California. I got some photos. So the flight back was IFR, and we're coming out of French Valley Airport. And it's interesting. Derek was trying to explain. He lived out there for years, so this is all normal to him. But it was kind of odd. We filed IFR, and we start climbing through the clouds. And he was explaining to me, if you stay on an IFR flight plan out there, they route you miles and miles and miles. I think he said it can literally be like an hour out of your way before you get back on your track back home. So what we ended up doing was filing IFR, climbing up through the cloud deck, it's always cool. I always enjoy sitting right seat when someone else is flying IFR because it's not stressful for me, but I get to kind of see how other people do their task management. As with the two of us doing it, it was helpful as well. So we got on top, and it was clear for forever. So we canceled IFR and headed back home, and that's when the story got a little twist. We were about maybe halfway home, and we landed in, I think, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Don't quote me on that. And we landed, and that's when, I looked down, and I was like, oh, man, my wife's been trying to get a hold of me. And I was like, that's not good. A lot of missed calls. And so I pick up the phone, and she says, she's kind of panicked. She's Brooks, my daughter, has had a seizure. And I'm like, suddenly nothing matters, right? I'm like, I'm easily 5 or 6 hours at best away with, getting fuel, taking off, getting to his airport, driving back to his house where my car's at, and then driving home. Like, there's just the most helpless feeling ever. And I full on, just in my head, was like, what do I do? I'm forever away from my child, and my child's having a major problem. So everything's fine. I got home and, I got to be with my daughter or whatever, but it brought up a question in my mind because the whole flight home, I thought, well, this is no longer an option for me. I can't have a job where I'm gone 2, 3, 4 days at a time and have a child who could have a seizure or anything that could happen in your life. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, what happens? How do you have this job and deal with real life at the same time? And so after the fact, I decided to give Derek a call and kind of talk through what that looks like. What is it like to be an airline pilot and be gone on a multi-day trip and something terrible happens back at home? I don't know. I don't answer that question. So I said, let's go ahead and stop the video. Let's call Derek and have that conversation.
Hang on just a second.
Sure.
Did you say you wanted to do a video call, or are we just good with this?
Just this is fine. I've got you on speaker.
Okay.
And so I want to talk a little bit. So you and I had landed in New Mexico for a fuel stop. I look down at my phone. I see I've got 8 or 9 missed phone calls from Erin, and so I know something's wrong. I call her back, and she tells me our daughter Brooke has had a seizure. I've never felt more helpless in my life. Your brain kind of goes into panic mode, and the last thing I care about at this point is flying a plane. I just got to figure out. I'm probably 6 to 8 hours before I can see her. At your particular airline, Derek, let's say you're on day 2 of a 4-day trip, and you get a call that a family member's been injured or something. How do you handle that? You're not going to get in a plane and be able to fly. You're not level-headed.
You have to assess the situation for each individual thing.
Okay.
First off, before every flight, you have to certify that you are fit for duty. And fit for duty is not just, hey, I got enough rest and I'm feeling pretty good or anything. It means something hasn't happened that is going to take you mentally out of the game.
Okay.
Now, there are times when you're literally at an outstation somewhere and you have something like that come up. And, let's say you just landed in, I don't know, Jackson, Mississippi, and you're going to an overnight and it's midnight. There's no other flights or anything that are going out. And you get this phone call that says, hey, this happened at home.
Yeah.
What are your choices? I mean, you really have to look at it and go, okay, I can fly the airplane home tomorrow and be done. I'm supposed to do an early flight the next day, and I'll be back in Dallas at 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Or do you decide, hey, I'm going to rent a car and I'm going to drive for 7 hours all night long and do something like that? Well, you have to weigh those two things together.
Sure.
You'd really only be saving a couple of hours. Now, you also have to look at it and go, okay, what is the emergency for the situation? What can I do when I'm here on the road? If I was there anything I could do? No, there's really not much I can do by being there.
Yeah.
So, can I do the rest of my job, or at least put it out of my head and go, okay, these are the things that are going to happen, and I've just got a job to do, and then you have to just stay focused on it. But being mentally fit for duty is a vital thing. I can tell you a story that happened to me when my father fell and hit his head.
Sure.
I was just leaving my hotel in JFK to go fly from JFK back to LAX. We were supposed to leave an hour and a half after I'm walking out the door to the hotel. So as I'm leaving my hotel room, my phone is ringing and it's my sister. My sister doesn't call all that often.
Yeah.
So I pick it up and she says, hey, Dad had an accident. It's really bad. We don't think he's going to come out of it. I told the assistant chief pilot what was going on. And I said, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm supposed to go fly an airplane. It's literally an hour from departure right now. And I'm supposed to go fly this airplane. And I don't want to leave a whole bunch of people, 150 people get stuck here in New York, while I have to go run off and deal with a family emergency. And his response was, is there a flight going to where you need to go, which was Virginia, anytime soon? I said, yeah, there's one leaving in 20 minutes. He said, you go get on that flight and go be with your family.
Awesome.
I will deal with the operation.
Awesome.
If you think about it, you know, and that was eventually what my dad did die from that. So I needed to get down there to be with my family. Would I have mentally been in the game to fly an airplane for 6 hours to have to turn around and fly right back another 5 hours, you know, or would I have been, you know, checked out wondering, you know, what's going on? What can I do? I should be there, you know? Those are the things that you really have to look at when you're getting in an airplane and you've got 150 or 200 customers, or even, you know, 70 customers, or 5 who are sitting behind you and they're counting on you being 100% to do your job.
Okay, so it makes sense. You're actually, even if you say, hey, I'm going to fly this, you could be doing them a disservice by trying to take the flight because you're not fully, you know, in the game.
That really is what you have to do. Now, where we were, you know, flying my airplane, and we're standing in New Mexico, and this happens with your daughter and everything, we're like, well, you know, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
The fastest thing for us to do is to fuel this airplane, get in the airplane, and go. And, you know, the fortunate thing with that is, with GA flying, you really only need one person. But we had the 2 of us in the airplane together.
Yeah.
And the fastest way to get home was to get in the airplane and continue doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, and it was, so when, you know, when I got the phone call, clearly, you know, I did the same thing, you know, that you just said. I was like, well, if I was there, I want to be there for me, you know, because like I'm going to be a wreck because I feel so far away from my daughter. And but my first thought, like, she called and said, oh, Brooks had a seizure, and I was like, oh, I can't be a pilot. Like I can't do this professionally. But I did. That was my first thought. Was like I you know. But then that's why I wanted to have this conversation. I was going, well, wait a minute. It's not like they're going to be like, sorry, buddy, you got 3 days left in your schedule. I kind of wanted to know how that works. And it sounds like same situation. They get you to your family, or one would hope, I guess. All airlines would do that, but get you where you need to be as fast as possible, and they take care of making sure the business, you know, continues. All right, so to end this video, this is my daughter, Brooke.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The seizure was a while ago, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty behind on my video editing. So, but you're cool. You have no concerns or issues or anything.
Right now, yeah. I am a little worried that I will have one again, but I'm quite sure I won't. But it is stressful to know that is potentially something that could happen.
What happens? What is it like to be the person having the seizure? What's the experience like?
So, for me at least, it's different per person, but when I have a seizure, it's like I'm just doing a normal task, and then suddenly I'm on the floor completely confused. I don't understand anything that's happening, and I barely recognize anybody around me. So it isn't like I don't know when I'm shaking on the floor, I just know afterward. And of course the dogs have to start barking.
But you feel good now, you're all good, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better.
All right, so we're all happy, we're good, and that was going to be the last one, right? I prefer, as a father, I would prefer if you would just stop having them.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
So if you would just try to work harder at not having them, I think it'd be better for everybody.
Yeah, it'd be better for me too, because they're exhausting. I slept for like 20 hours after my seizure.
Yeah, so, but anyway, so she's fine, we're all good. So you tell them they need to use Gold Seal, smash that like button, subscribe, share it with a friend. What is it?
I don't know, man. So Gold Seal or something, subscribe. Yeah, do the thing.
All right, thanks everyone. Click this link to see the most recent video upload. Click this link to see a video that YouTube thinks you might like. Click this link to subscribe to my channel.